Okay, everyone, let's grab our seats. It's officially 8:30 p.m. My name's Ron. I'm an alcoholic. Welcome to the Conscious Contact Speaker Group of Doylestown, Pennsylvania. Jay wanted me to announce that our next week's speaker is Lori D. She's coming in from Galloway, New Jersey. Makes it really simple. She's always got a powerful message. We've got Chris B. coming on the following Saturday. He's always entertaining and a howl, and it's always good to be in an Alcoholics Anonymous meeting and have good snacks. So if you enjoy our snacks, get here early with us, come out and hang out and have some fun. With that, I'm going to welcome up, and please help me welcome the world's greatest chairman, Jay from Australia.
Don't let my Australian accent throw you off. Okay, all right. Let's see. Welcome to the Conscious Contact Speakers Group of Alcoholics Anonymous. My name is Jay and I'm an alcoholic. Hi, Jay. This is a 1-hour speaker meeting that meets every Saturday evening at St. Paul's Lutheran Church, 301 North Main Street, Doylestown, Pennsylvania. Food and fellowship starts at 8 o'clock and speaker at 8:30. The business meeting for this group meets every Saturday at 7 p.m. to 7:30 right here. Please come early and join us. The purpose of this group is to provide a consistent message of hope and recovery through God reliance and service to others through the practice and teaching of the 12 steps. We record all speakers so that others may benefit from their message of recovery. If you do not wish to be recorded, simply ask. This is an open meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous. The group would like to welcome everyone, especially newcomers. Is there anyone new or from out of town who would like to introduce themselves with their first name? Yes. Welcome, Lisa. Welcome. Yes, sir.
I'm Keith, an alcoholic.
Well, welcome, Keith. Billy.
My name's Bill, I'm an alcoholic.
Hi, Bill. Welcome. Yes, sir.
My name's Frank, I'm an alcoholic.
Hi, Frank. Welcome. Who else? Yes.
Hi, Jenna. I'm an alcoholic.
Hi, Jenna. Welcome. Yes.
My name is Sal, I'm an alcoholic.
Hi, Sal. Welcome.
First time at this meeting.
First time here. Thank you. Okay, we're good? Okay. The Conscious Contact Speaker Group encourages sponsorship. Would anyone with working knowledge of the 12 steps and is willing to sponsor, please raise your hands. Okay, thank you. Okay, are there any announcements for the good of AA? Okay. Our sister group is a Big Book study meeting that meets every Thursday at 7:30 p.m. Just up the street at Salem UCC Church, 186 East Court Street. In Doylestown, of course. Coffee is on at 6:15. We have meeting lists and Big Books on easy terms. Please see me or any home group member after the meeting. If you cannot afford a Big Book, the Conscious Contact Speaker Group will give you one at no charge. Anyone willing to make donations for the purchase of Big Books and CDs to help those who can't afford them can put donations in the jar on the table marked Big Book and CD donations. That's that table back there. All CDs are available free of charge. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel, the Conscious Contact Speaker Group of Doylestown, PA, and our Facebook group. Subscribe and share. You can find our speakers there. Join our Facebook page to keep informed and share upcoming events and meetings. And now I would like to introduce JJ, who's going to read our Gist for today.
My name is JJ. I'm an alcoholic. This is the Just for Today prayer. Just for today, I will try to live through this day only and not tackle my whole life problem at once. I could do something for 12 hours that would appall me if I felt that I had to keep it up for a lifetime. Just for today, I will be happy. This assumes to be true what Abraham Lincoln said, that most folks are as happy as they make up their minds to be. Just for today, I will admit myself to what is, and not try to adjust everything to my own desire. I will take my luck as it comes and fit myself to it. Just for today, I will try to strengthen my mind. I will study. I will learn something useful. I will not be a mental loafer. I will read something that requires effort, thought, and concentration. Just for today, I will exercise my soul in 3 ways. I will do somebody a good turn and not get found out. If anybody knows of it, I will not count. It will not count. I will do at least 2 things I don't want to do for exercise. I will not show anyone that my feelings are hurt, they may be hurt, but today I will not show it. Just for today, I will be agreeable, I will look as well as I can, dress becomingly, talk low, act courteously, criticize not one bit, not find fault with anything, and not try to improve or regulate anybody but myself. Just for today, I will have a program. I may not allow it exactly, but I will have it. I will save myself from 2 pests, hurry, or indecision. Just for today, I will have a quiet half hour all by myself. Relax during this half hour sometime. I will try to get better perspective on my life. Just for today, I will be unafraid. Especially, I will not be afraid to enjoy what is beautiful and to believe that as I give the world, so the world will give to me. And with that, Will's going to come up here and read our preamble.
I am Will, and I'm an alcoholic. Alcohol Anonymous is a fellowship of men and women who share their experience, strength, and hope with each other, that they may solve their common problem and help others to recover from alcoholism. The only requirement for membership is a desire to stop drinking. There are no dues or fees for AA membership. We are self-supporting through our own contributions. AA is not allied with any sect, denomination, politics, organization, or institution. Does not wish to engage in any controversy, neither endorses nor opposes any causes. Our primary purpose is to stay sober and help other alcoholics to achieve sobriety. Now I have Meredith to come up and read the AA 12 Steps of Recovery.
Hi everyone, Meredith, alcoholic. The AA 12 Steps of Recovery. We admitted we were powerless over alcohol, that our lives had become unmanageable. Step 2, came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. Step 3, made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood Him. Step 4, made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. Step 5, admitted to God, to ourselves, and to another human being the exact nature of our wrongs. Step 6, we're entirely ready to have God remove all these defects of character. Step 7, humbly asked Him to remove our shortcomings. Step 8, made a list of all persons we had harmed and became willing to make amends to them all. Step 9, made direct amends to such people wherever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. Step 10, continued to take personal inventory, and when we were wrong, promptly admitted it. Step 11, sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God as we understood Him, praying only for knowledge of His will for us and the power to carry that out. Step 12, having had a spiritual awakening, as the result of these steps, we tried to carry this message to alcoholics and to practice these principles in all of our affairs. Thanks.
Thank you to all the readers. The seventh tradition. Every AA group ought to be fully self-supporting, declining outside contributions. At this time, I would like to pass the basket. We have no dues or fees, but we have expenses. This group provides many services. Your donations cover food, rent, big books, CDs, events, and workshops, etc. There's absolutely no smoking on church property. Thank you. Please take a moment to silence all cell phones and limit movement during the meeting to avoid distractions. And now I'd like to introduce our speaker tonight, a good friend of the Conscious Contact Group, Tony F. from Pass It On in Walnut Park.
I'm Tony, I'm alcoholic. But I'd be lying if I said I wasn't a little bit nervous about coming here tonight, because it is an honor to speak here. My sobriety date is November 18th, 2010. I have a sponsor. You know, I always like to say that, and he knows he's my sponsor. And I do sponsor other men in this program, and that's also been an honor for me through the last 14 years of my sobriety. I could tell you the last 17 days of my addiction were horrible. From that 1st of November of 2010 to November 17th, I was consuming about 230 packs, a fifth of tequila, and about an 8-ball of cocaine every day. Till on November 17th where I passed out finally. I mean, I was up, I wasn't sleeping, and I finally collapsed. And that began my journey into Alcoholics Anonymous. So, going back in time, I grew up in a small town, a little town called Stiles, Pennsylvania, which was part of Whitehall. I was the last of 6 kids. My oldest brother was in the military. He left when I was 2 years old, and I had 2 sisters and 3 brothers. We grew up very close together. We had all the necessities met as children. Our necessities were met, probably not our wants, but Dad was a hard worker. He worked for Mack Trucks. Mom was a stay-at-home mom. Life was pretty good. You know, we had air conditioning in the summertime, heat in the winter, a roof over our head. Like I said, all the things were met. You know, why I became an alcoholic, I have no idea. You know, growing up, I wanted to be a cop. I was wanting to be like Columbo, you know, smoking a cigar, you know, long jacket, driving, maybe not driving a crappy car, but, you know, other than that, that's what I wanted to be. You know, when I was younger, I used to grab Dad beers, you know, out of the fridge, take small sips and stuff like that. And I don't think Dad did anything for me that said, oh, that was going to turn me in. But I could tell you when I took my first drink for myself, it was at the age of 11. I remember on a weekend with a bunch of guys, and they said, hey, let's get a 6-pack of beer. We know this guy in the corner. He was like the local bum. He hung out on the corner of the bars. If you gave him so much money, you would buy him some and he would get you some. So that always worked. And we got a 6-pack of beer, and I remember the first time I took a drink, and I liked it. I liked it immediately what it did for me. It made me feel comfortable around other people because I was like always one of the tallest kids, and I felt awkward, and alcohol immediately made me feel comfortable. It made me fit in, made me feel able to talk to people, made me feel like one of the group, and I liked immediately what alcohol did for me. So I pursued that probably for the rest of my life, you know, up to the age of 40. From age 11 on, there were weekend parties. You know, like we had parties in cornfields, and those are great, by the way. You know, I always said, you know, if there weren't some good times with alcohol, I would have quit early on. If everything I did with alcohol was a complete disaster early on, I don't think I would have pursued drinking as much. But there were parties and women and a lot of fun. We had bands in the cornfields. We had, thank God the cops didn't have SUVs and stuff back then, in the 80s and stuff like that. But, but alcohol made me fit in with the women, the bands, the guys and stuff, and made me feel comfortable around to talk to everybody around. So by the time I was 14, I thought I was drinking pretty good. I was like one of the first at a party and the last to leave. I was like the barrel watcher, like whenever we had parties and stuff like that, I was the guy that hung out at the barrels. I made sure like it got tipped for the last drink and whatnot. And right there should have been a sign to say, I might have had a problem. But I didn't see it that way. I thought, well, this is what everybody did. At least the people I drank with did. I didn't know people went home. And this is at age 14, I didn't see that. And as time went on, this progressed into weekend partying, to Thursday night partying, to Wednesday night partying, to Tuesday night partying, to Monday night partying. And so it was just about every day. I was drinking from the age of 15, 16, 17, 18. And I don't know a time from till I was like 22 where I didn't drink every day, at least something. And alcohol became my best friend. I wasn't hanging out with people anymore after I graduated high school and stuff like that. And speaking of high school, I graduated second in my class in VOTEC. I went to VOTEC for electrical. I graduated second in my class. I was always an overachiever. I was blessed with the gift of retaining the information. Like, I didn't have to study. I didn't know people actually had to study. And I mean that. Like, if I paid attention in class, I was good. And I could pass a test. But I used to like to go home and drink. And I would take drinks from my parents. I would take drinks from your parents. If I went to your house, I would take drinks from your parents' house. If you invited me over, I was raiding your parents' liquor cabinet. Because I just wanted to drink. I liked what the effects of alcohol had on me. Alcohol had me at its grip at a young age. Until I started to date again, and I got married, and I had a kid. Then I thought, well, maybe I should change something. So what happened was, I had a kid and I became a workaholic. I pushed alcohol back aside for a little bit. And I was working about 80 to 100 hours a week because I wanted to provide for my kid. And I didn't see that as a problem. I was overdoing something else to compensate for something else. So we had a kid, and then in that same year, in '96, we got married. And I was working excessively, and then my wife at the time, Jen, said, maybe you should slow down a little bit. I think you're working too much. And I said, that's probably not good for me to slow down. And I said, if I slow down, I don't know what I'm going to do with myself. Well, I slowed down, and I found exactly what I was going to do with myself. I put a beer meister in my basement, and I found exactly what I was going to do. I was going to start killing quarter and half barrel beers by myself on a regular basis again. It's almost like the story in the big book, the guy at retirement, I says, out come the slippers, and in a couple of weeks he was drinking like he was. And that was exactly me. I would pick up right where I left off. Every time I would stop for any period of time, I would pick right back up with drinking exactly where I left off. It didn't take me long to get back to that and then being who I was. Not caring about anything else but me getting a drink. Because I didn't care about you, and I didn't care about my wife, and I didn't care about my kids. I cared about me getting my drink. And that's all I wanted. I wanted my drink. And whatever I could do to get that drink. Well, in the meantime, she got pregnant again with a second kid. But now I was relaxed. I had my drink. She was pregnant. We were getting ready to move into a new house. And she was having a kid, and I was drinking. And now Now, at work, I found friends that drank like I did. I thought, this is great. So we had after-work drinks, and I wasn't coming home. Well, I said I was going home, but I never went home. I was the guy that would, if you would ask me before I walked into a bar, I would swear on a stack of Bibles that I was coming home for dinner. And somehow, some way, it would be 3 o'clock in the morning. And I don't know what happened. I just don't know. But I never walked into a bar with the exact amount of change for one beer. That was never my story. I would never go into a bar for one beer. There was no reason to do that. Because if I was going in there, I was going to go put a shift in. I mean, at one moment I would have my head down, and I'd put my head up, there'd be a different bartender on. Or they would be changing the barrel, or they'd be changing the bottles. You know, I used to sit and watch bottles to whatever, at the end where you got the free shot, you know what I mean? I watched everything. I was a connoisseur of consumption. I consumed whatever I could consume. And I loved alcohol. And like I said, I loved what it did for me. But it was starting to slowly destroy my marriage because I wasn't coming home. Alcohol was taking care of me, but I wasn't taking care of anything that should have been important to me. My kids, my family, and it was showing. I pretty much pushed my wife into the arms of another guy, and that kind of ended my marriage number one, to wife number one, for the first time. That was in 2002, March of 2002. We separated because of my drinking, supposedly because of my drinking, but she had enough. She had enough of me not coming home at night. And, you know, I really wasn't all that upset because then I could just, when she left, I could drink the way I wanted to, open and freely. But something happened as we fully got divorced by October of that year. I ended up taking her back in November, and we got remarried. And we had another kid, and we spent 5 more years together, and then we ended up getting divorced again. So it was some weird circumstances. But like I said, I was in a fog through most of that. Alcohol kind of did that to me. There was portions of my life I don't remember. Some bits and pieces during the thing. During some of my addiction, I used some performance-enhancing drugs that would enhance the alcohol intake. You know, the 80s was speed. I liked it. The one thing I never did, I was not a drug user who drank. I was an alcoholic who took things that would enhance his drinking. I was drinking before anything else would take place. I never sought one for the other. I always drank before I did anything, just how I was. That's why I'm in Alcoholics Anonymous. Alcohol was my first love. So, that marriage 5 years later fell apart with a third kid. Same reasoning, same thing happened. It was like 5 years later, same circumstances. Still wife number one, divorce number two. And, you know, $4,300 a month in child support. And bills that I just couldn't even match. And my life was falling apart. But like Bill would have said, would that bother me? Nope. I went right to the bar and drank. And I continued to drink. I didn't let any of that affect me. So what did I do? The next best thing? I found a girl that could drink like I did. And partied with her. And I did. And it didn't take me long. I pursued this girl from the time my brother hired her. I was working for my brother, doing car sales. And he hired this young girl who was younger than me, and I pursued her because she liked to party. And I liked to party. Well, you know. And we got together and we partied. And it was a toxic relationship because we fed off of each other. And I don't know if we damaged each other by doing that. I know I damaged myself because I could have been a better person. I should, you know, I could always play the game. I should have, I could have, but I didn't. I drank and I drugged because that's what I did. That's the only thing I knew how to do. And I wasn't thinking of anybody else but me. My whole life, I was like a Hoover Deluxe running through life. Whatever I could suck out of you, I would. And it didn't matter who I was with. I would suck the life right out of you. And once I was done with you, I'd move on to the next person. And the next person, and the next person. And I thought I was a great guy. You know, later on in life, I couldn't figure out why people disliked me. I really couldn't. You know, I thought I was this great guy. I thought, you know, wherever I was at, the party was. I was this fun-loving guy. You know, bring it on. You know, where did I go wrong? The guy who wanted to be a Columbo turned into this, like, monster kind of guy that would just, like, ruin people's lives. Like I said, I really was the kind of guy that would steal your wallet and help you look for it while it was in my back pocket. You know, where is it? I wonder what happened to it. You know what I mean? Let me help you look. You know, but that's the kind of friend I was. You know, a lot of times I was just up to no good. You know, but this girl stuck by me. You know, and this was an off and on relationship of love and hate. Her name was Stephanie, and we met somewhere around 2008, and we partied hard. When we really got together, we partied hard. And there was 2 years of craziness. Because in 2009, October 22nd of 2009, I was leaving a bar in Simsville, Pennsylvania. And I was coming down a road, it was raining real hard. I took my vehicle and slid across the road, almost took out another vehicle, and went into a ditch. I couldn't figure out why I couldn't back the vehicle up. What had happened was I was over this ditch, so I opened the door, and I was looking back to see the wheels were just spinning. So I thought I'd step out. Well, what had happened was, being over that ditch, I hit my head on a tree, it fell down, and I hit my head off a rock, and then I was knocked unconscious. Next thing I remember, the police were pulling me out of the ditch and throwing me into the back of a van and escorted me to the hospital. And at that point, they cut off all my clothes and they were drawing blood, and I was threatening them that I was gonna, you know, I needed a badge number, and you know, I was all tough, naked. You know what I mean? You know, to letting them know who was in charge. It was really the other way around. They were kind of letting me know who was in charge. You know, looking back on the whole scene, but I had enough blood alcohol in me and drugs to warrant a DUI, and I got one. But which prompted me to talk to my brother, who at that point had 20-some years in Alcoholics Anonymous. The next day after getting out of the hospital, I called him and I said, hey, I think I need a little bit of help. So on October 24th, 2009, I walked into the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous for the first time for myself. And I kind of like what you people were talking about, but I didn't think all of it applied to me. You know, I liked what you were doing. I liked the fellowshipping. I liked the hanging out. I liked the coffee. I liked going to the diners afterwards and just hanging out, eating. These had some game nights going on. We went bowling. I thought, hey, this is a lot of fun. I was doing everything but doing any kind of step work, you know, because I thought I had the step work on the thing. I said, well, I know about God. I know I know I really probably shouldn't drink again. I said I shouldn't drink. I didn't say I won't. But, you know, and the rest of those steps up there were not all for me. And I'll help other people. And that's as far as I got. And needless to say, I drank again. And from that, you know, from June 8th of 2010, I was drinking off and on, and that was my birthday. I'll tell you a little episode that happened. I was sober up to June 10th. From October 24th to June 10th, I was dry. Like my one friend likes to call it stradriety. That's where you're all dry and you're not working in any kind of program. And I came home from work. I had a nice banner in my house that said, "Happy Birthday, Dad." My 3 boys were there. My mom was there. My brothers and sisters were there. And I was in a pissed off mood. And without a driver's license, I hopped on a 10-speed bike, drove up the street to a local pizza place, proceeded to get 2 12-packs of beer, drove back on a 10-speed bike. In hindsight, I should have drank 1 or 2 on the way back, but I did not. I walked in the house, cracked one open, and proceeded to throw my kids, my mom, and all my brothers and sisters out of my house. And I watched my kids crying because they couldn't figure out why their dad was being such a jerk. Just because I was in a bad mood. And I was angry at the world because I didn't have a driver's license. And life was not treating me fair. And the girl I was in love with wasn't with me that day. And I hurt my kids really bad. The look on their face was, when I close my eyes, I still see that look. And it hurts. You know, they were crying. They were hurt. That how could their father throw them out of their house? You know, painful. So I ended up throwing a party that night. I had everybody there that I could think of, that I could possibly invite. And I got smashed. Although the next morning was not so pleasant. I heard a knock at my door. This bald guy shows up, his name is Sonny, and said, "What did you do?" He's a member of Alcoholics Anonymous. He made sure he spilled everything down the drain, ended up cleaning up my house, started calling other people of Alcoholics Anonymous, called my sponsor. My sponsor shows up, says, "How do you feel?" I said, "I feel terrible." He said, "That's good." He goes, "We're going to a meeting." He goes, "Better yet, we're going to a rehab and you're going to speak and let people know what it was like going back out." And I was like, ugh. I said, "I have nothing to offer." I said, "I just drank." He said, "You have plenty to offer. You can tell them what it was like. Was it any better?" I said, "No." He said, "Well, let's start speaking on it." You know, and it's not something I wanted to do, but I did it. But I didn't still get sober that day. So me and this girl still ran. We were in and out. I was going to meetings, and I was leaving meetings drinking. You know, and that was through July. In August, we ended up getting married. We made it through September, and I really was trying to get sober. I got a new sponsor because my sponsor had to leave me. He got a night shift job, and that wasn't working. And I was kind of left to my own devices, so I asked someone else to sponsor me. And he said to me, he said, "Tony, all I want you to do is call me every day." He said, "All you have to do is call me every day. That's it. You don't have to do no work. Just call me every day." I said, "You got it." I never called him. So from September to the 1st of November, I never called them. I was drinking, and I was drinking, and I was using so much coke on top of that drinking. I was accelerating fast, and I was deteriorating fast because I wasn't sleeping, and I wasn't showing up for work, and my job was hanging on by a thread. My family didn't want me around no more. Everybody had enough of Tony by the end of this run. They were sick of me, and I was sick of me. You know, my current wife, she wasn't even partying as hard as I was partying anymore. And that scared me. When I'm out partying, the one that I thought loved me at the time, and it was scary. So which brings me up to November 17th, 2010. On November 17th, 2010, I ended up passing out in my son's room. And I laid there for 3 days. Now, did I go to the bathroom? Did I do anything else? I have no idea. My wife at the time tells me different. She said I was talking to some people. I had a conversation with my father, who at that point was dead quite a few years. I was talking to my children, who definitely were not even allowed to be around me. And I was mumbling a lot of stuff. And I came out of that on a Sunday morning. I count my sobriety November 18th because the last day I ingested anything was November 17th. But on Sunday, I came out of it, and once again, I called my brother, and I said, John, I think I really messed up this time. I'm scared, and I don't know what to do. And he said, come meet with me Monday morning at my office. So I did do that, and I went to his office, and he said to me, he said, brother, you need some real help. He said, I don't think AA is going to do it for you. He said, you know everything AA says. You know the book. He says, you can recite things from the book. He said, but you know what you're not doing? You're not applying anything of the program. He said, you need to go to rehab. So on Wednesday of that week, it was Thanksgiving, I packed my bags and I went to Marworth, Pennsylvania, which is in Scranton, Marworth Rehab. And on my way up there, that guy said I never called. I called him that morning, and I told him, I said, hey, Harry, how you doing? He said, oh my gosh. He said, I can't believe you called me. I said, guess what? And he said, what? I said, I'm on my way to rehab. And I said, I need some help. I said, I really need some help. I said, I put myself in a bad position. And he said, go and listen and do what they say at the rehab. He said, what you need to do is get some understanding of what they tell you to do and go in there with an open mind. And don't be a know-it-all. And don't be defensive. And I did that. And he was really one of my first phone calls I made when I was up there. But when I got up there, the first night I got on my knees, and I had my very first big book. It wasn't this one. My first big book is in ruins. It's in pieces right now. I got on my knees with my big book and I asked God for help. It was not a profound prayer of any sort. It was like, God, please help me. I'm willing to do whatever they'll tell me to do, because that's what my sponsor told me I should say. I was scared. For the first time in my life, I was scared, because I thought, what about if AA doesn't work for me? Then what am I going to do? Suppose it works for everybody else but me. Then I'm kind of like left in the dark, you know. So rehab was fantastic, though. I really did enjoy rehab. I learned a lot about myself. I learned about what kind of jerk I was. The basic stuff you learn. And I got a nice drying out period, and I got fed very well. But the one thing that they said was, get to a meeting the first day you get out, and my sponsor came up to visit me up there, and that was the first time I saw the hand of AA. He came up with a bunch of guys on a Saturday night, and I barely knew Harry at the time. I barely knew him, but he brought 3 other guys with him, and he drove all the way to Scranton from Allentown. Now, I found that very odd that people had nothing better to do on a Saturday night than to come and see me. I'm serious. Like, what is going on with these people that they want to come to see me? It just was very odd. So, looking back, that was the first time I saw the hand of AA, and I thought that was very cool. So, I get out of rehab, and it was on a Wednesday, and I called Harry. And I said, "Hey, Harry, I'm getting out." He said, "Well, that's great." He said, "What meeting are we going to tonight?" He said, he goes, "Never mind." He goes, "I know where we're going to meet." He goes, "We're going to meet Wednesday night in Catasauqua, or Fullerton, rather." And I met him there. I met him first night out of rehab. I said I was going to take direction, and we met. And right after the meeting, he said to me, "I want you to go home, and I want you to write down why you think you're alcoholic." And in my mind, I'm sitting there thinking this: why does this guy want me to go home and write why I'm alcoholic? He saw me in rehab. He knows I had a DUI. I'm sitting in an Alcoholics Anonymous meeting. Who's crazy, me or him? Because why am I here if I'm not alcoholic? But he wanted me to go home and write why I thought I was alcoholic. So I did it. I didn't say it to him. So I took a sheet of paper and I wrote down why I thought I was alcoholic. And I was very proud of it too, because it was like my first big assignment. And the following week I went down and I went to hand him that paper at the same meeting again, because we would meet at that meeting every Wednesday, and every Sunday night we would meet at his house after that at 5:30, and I would show up at his house at 5 o'clock. I was always early, because I was scared he was going to like skip out on me or something like that. So I always showed up early. And I handed him that paper the following week, and he said, "I don't need to see that." He said, "That's for you." He said, "You need to know you were alcoholic." He said, "Because I wanted to make sure that you didn't think you were different than anybody else in that room." He said, "If you think you were different than everybody else, you're going to sit there and say, well, I didn't drink as much as that person, or that person drank more than me." And, he says, "You have to know in your heart that the idea that someday, somehow, you can control and enjoy your drinking has to be smashed." He said, "Knowing you're alcoholic, you have to smash that idea." And it's exactly how he put it. He used the words from the book. Because I thought this guy was just genius with some of the words he was using, because I didn't know the big book like that at that time. But he was using the words. And he says, you have to smash the idea that you could never drink like a normal man again. And I thought, wow, that was heavy. But when I wrote that, I saw the unmanageability in my life. I saw like I wasn't taking care of my kids. And that was obvious. You don't take care of your kids by throwing them out of your house. I wasn't, well, other than child support, I wasn't really taking care of my kids. I was supposed to have them over Thanksgiving. I'm off to rehab. I wasn't paying my bills. I wasn't giving 100% at my job. That's how I found my unmanageability. And we met every Sunday night. We met every Sunday night. I got through the steps. And then that was my step one. That really was my step one. I was powerless over alcohol. My life was unmanageable. He said, he even said that to me. He goes, "Congratulations." He said, "We figured out your step one." He goes, "Now I want you to take that piece of paper, flip it over." And he goes, "On the back, I want you to draw a line down the center of it." And I goes, "On the left side, I want you to write what you think God was and what you want in a God." And I thought to myself, that's pretty cool, because what I want in a God, I said, forget what I thought about God was. I got some things I want God to be. I want someone that's loving and caring. I want someone that's all powerful. I want someone to take care of me. I was struggling. I was hurting. I was in a lot of pain when I got to Alcoholics Anonymous. Listen, I don't know what anybody's first year was like. I see some people go through their first year and they're happy, joyous, and free. I went through my first year and I struggled. My first year was hard. I was sitting outside bars in my first year. I was waiting for the door to open to see who was inside and that I could vicariously grab some excitement. You know what I mean? My first year was hard. It wasn't all happy, joyous, and free. You know, till I got through the steps, I didn't get no relief right away. You know, I was going to meetings early. I had a coffee commitment that was 18 months at my first home group. That didn't make me great, but I needed something to bind me to this program because I was dying. But he made me write down that, and on the other side, I wrote down that whole punishing God and, you know, the God of Moses, that he was going to make me smash some commandments or something, you know. And when we got to step 3, to make my decision, to turn my will and my life over to the care of God, that was something else. That was probably the most powerful step. That is to me the biggest step we take in this program. That is the beginning of the end of self. And we say it in the 3rd step prayer. That's the end of self. And what that looked like for me is I had to quit playing God. I had to quit trying to control everybody and everything. I had to quit trying to control my children. I had to quit trying to control my ex-wife. I had to quit trying to control my current wife. I had to quit trying to control my parents, my job, and everybody around me. That's hard to do when you've done it your whole life and try to control every situation to suit your needs. But I had to quit trying to control that and try to let things happen naturally and accept them for what they are. And allow that God on the right side of my paper to be the one I'm going to turn the keys to the kingdom over to. That was something. Because it says we have a new employer being all powerful. He'll provide what we needed if we keep close to him. What kind of God do you want to keep close to? That's what my sponsor said to me. Do you want one all powerful and loving and caring? Or do you want one that's destructive and unforgiving? You know? And when we took the 3rd step prayer, I took it with Harry and a guy named Carl. He looked like ZZ Top. It was weird. He was on the left side of me. Harry was on the right side. We knelt down at a chapel. We said the 3rd step prayer together. And then they started to pray for me. And I thought that was the weirdest thing. I never had anyone pray for me before. And I mean that, like, other than a priest praying over me. But I never had 2 other guys pray for me. They prayed that the program would work for me and that everything would flow through. I would get through my 4th and 5th with ease and without stress. And you know what? That happened. I immediately started on my 4th step, and my 4th step went well. You know, I wrote my resentments. I included all the people except God and myself on it. I wrote my fears out. I did not write my sexual conducts out because I didn't make a list of that to leave around. But me and my sponsor talked about it. But when we did my 5th step, he set up a chair for himself, he set up a chair for God, he set up a chair for me. And we met and we talked that out. And that was beautiful. And when I did my 5th step, I believe that's where I had my spiritual awakening. That's the first time after doing my 5th step that I didn't think about taking a drink in a long time. That's the first time I felt like I didn't need to drive and sit outside a bar and see what was going on inside. That was a good feeling, you know. And after I did my 5th step, I went home, I took the book down, I prayed and I thanked God from the bottom of my heart. And I thanked him for being understanding and listening, and I asked him for his forgiveness. And I read the first 5 proposals, making sure I didn't miss anything. And then the following week, we went over my 6th and 7th step. You know, I wish I was more thorough at the time on my 6th and 7th. I do a little bit different with my guys today. We do a book called Drop the Rock. which is very informative for me. It really goes over in detail your character defects. It's written by alcoholics. I have no problem talking about that a little bit. I just touched the surface of my defects back then, 14 years ago. And, you know, I made a beginning, like the book would say. I made a beginning. But character defects and shortcomings are a lifetime. You know, crack one, another one resurfaces. My biggest was anger. And I think I've gotten a lot better with that over the time period. I don't think I've mastered it, but I've gotten a lot better. I work on that one daily. My 8th step, I always think that was the easiest of all the steps. That was like, wow, the breather step. Because all I had to do was make a list of my 8th step. So I took a list I took my 4th step. And my sponsor said, before you use your 4th step, write down some people that weren't on your 4th step. And I said, what do you mean by that? He said, well, there's some people you probably didn't have on your 4th. And he was right, I didn't have my kids on my 4th step. So I wrote my kids down first. And then I wrote a lot of people from my 4th step. And then he made me do that now, later, and never list. But we did that together because I'm still not a good judge of who I should do now and who I should do later and who I should do never. The nows were my family. He said he wanted me to get comfortable. He said, do some family first. Get comfortable making some amends. He said, because most of the time your family's going to forgive you. He said, they're around you now. They love you. Because the later ones are probably some relationships. Listen, I know it's shocking, but there were some women that got on without me. You can't believe it, but they did. But if I run into them, I am ready to make amends to them if something would come up, you know what I mean? There were some relationships that ended badly, but I'm not going to go hunt them down because they got on with their lives, and they're happy, joyous, and free with whoever they're with. But if there would be a situation, and there was one, I was at a gas station, and we kind of ran into each other, and we talked, and I felt good about it. You know, but I'm ready to make those amends. I'm not going to hold off on making them if I see the person, but I'm not going to go hunt them down to drudge up an old past, especially if they've had a happy life at this point. But one of my special amends was with my son on the beach. We made the amends, and he said, just keep doing what you're doing. And that was powerful, you know. Most of my amends went well. I don't think I had anyone that just like spit in my face or anything like that. But my sponsor said all the amends are, you pray before you do them, you say what you need to, ask if you can do anything to make it right, and then sit there and be quiet and let them rebut. And that's it. And just clean your side of the street. And that's what I've done in my 9th step. And they're all pretty beautiful. You know, there's some financial amends I made. You know, some of them I couldn't repay. There was one I offered to repay and they wouldn't take my money. So I did some private donations. One was Wells Fargo. They would not take my money. You couldn't believe it. I called them. I tried to make a couple payments with them. They would not take it. It was for an old credit card. They wouldn't take it. So I made private donations. I tell you that doesn't make me a great person, but it was a debt I owed. And I donated something privately without putting my name to it. Because I can't take credit for a debt I owe. But there are people that won't take your money. You know, it's crazy to find that out, but it's bizarre, actually. 10th step. We walk through the day to just take a look at ourselves. And the 10th step is a spot check inventory, you know. And that could happen at any point of the day. And I love the 10th step because it gives you the right to promptly make amends. And promptly is when you decide when that is. And sometimes you may need to talk about it with somebody. You may not know you need to make an amends. Sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. My wife's giving me a face. I love her. But sometimes you may not know you need to make amends, and sometimes you do. But sometimes that's why you have a sponsor or some people you can trust, and you sit and talk with them. Because sometimes the burdens are too grave for ourselves, and sometimes we just don't know how to make the amends. You know? Sometimes we let the things eat at us, and we sit long enough, and it causes heartache and pain. And then we turn to God and ask for forgiveness as well. My favorite step is the 11th. Sought through prayer and meditation to increase my conscious contact with God as we understood Him, praying only for the knowledge of His will for us and the power to carry that out. What a beautiful step that is. It starts at night, goes into the morning, and it's throughout the day. It's constant communication with God through prayer and meditation. At night we pray, in the morning we pray, throughout the day we pray, and we meditate to increase our conscious contact with God. And that's also the name of this group, Conscious Contact. You know, that's such a beautiful word. To stay in communion with your higher power on a daily basis, that is beautiful. You know, and I love it. You know, my day starts off with prayer. It starts off with readings. It starts off with some form of meditation. I sit and think about my 24 hours ahead, how I'm going to act, and how things are going to go. You know, because of the program, my life got pretty good. That wife I married, on March 15th, 2020, she passed away in her sleep because of the addiction of alcohol and drugs. She died next to me in my bed. One night, Stephanie that I was partying with. A little bit later, I met my current wife, Trina. We've been together 9 years. We're going to be married 8 this year. You know, Alcoholics Anonymous has given me a good life. And it's been a blessing throughout my life. And the people I have met in these rooms, the people that have been my friends that are here tonight, they've all been a huge circle around me, and they've kept me sober, and they're friends that I can turn to. One of the things I do every day, I send out 130 messages, private messages to people. That's because it helps me, not because it makes me a great person or whatever. You know, they say stay in contact with 5 alcoholics. I found a way to stay in contact with 130 people on a daily basis. It works for me. But I do it 6 days a week. I take Sunday off because God even got a day of rest. I thought, well, I'll take Sundays too. And but it helps me. It helps me not think of me all the time. Because I'm the hardest person to forget. I wake up thinking about myself. You know what I mean? I got to get self out of the way. Self is the hardest thing to remove. You know, and in the 3rd step prayer, we ask it at. God, I offer myself to Thee. You know what I mean? I'm trying to offer myself up to Him. To remove the bondage of self. Anytime self is in front of a word, it's usually pretty ugly. All the way up to self-destruction, because that's where I was at the end of my run. I tried to destroy everybody and everything in my sight, and I didn't care. But thanks to Alcoholics Anonymous, I have been blessed with a great life, a beautiful wife. I have a really good job. I have an awesome family. I have friends that are unbelievable. And a bunch of them come down to see me tonight. That's amazing. They took a nice long ride to come and see me, a bunch of them. I have my friend Jay, who spoke highly of me to bring me here. And never before would I thought I would speak here. You know, I want to read this real quick. I read this whenever I read And this is the 12th step. Life will take on a new meaning to watch other people recover, to see them help others, to watch loneliness vanish, to see a fellowship grow up about you, to have a host of friends. This is an experience you must not miss. We know you will not want to miss it. Frequent contact with newcomers and with each other is the bright spot of our lives. That statement there describes my entire program in a nutshell. I get to watch people recover on a daily basis. In other words, I get to see people come back from the dead. I get to watch their loneliness vanish. I had a fellowship grow up about me. I sponsor about 9 guys, and I am blessed with each one of them. I have a host of friends. I know I have 130 every morning. This is an experience I don't get to miss. I have frequent contact with newcomers all the time. They come to our home groups. I just go to an AA meeting, I put out my hand, like you do here. You shake everybody's hand. That's frequent contact with newcomers and with each other. And if that doesn't put a smile on your face, you're doing something wrong. So, my best day is yet to come. I just want to be sober when it gets here. So thanks for letting me share.
Again, my name is JJ and I'm an alcoholic. Let's give Tony one more round of applause. So, a couple quick announcements. Our speakers do come out here on their own time and expense, so it is standard procedure to form a line here and thank them personally. We also have an ongoing commitment up a pyramid. It's an H&I, wonderful stuff, be in the front lines. We also have a sister group, Big Book Study, right up the street. You can ask any home group member afterwards for details on those things. I believe that's it. We have a wonderful way of closing if you'd like to join us. Let's go ahead and circle up. As Ron says, keep the code alive. Brief moment of silence for the still sick and suffering, followed by our Lord's Prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen.
Keep coming back and work if you're worth it and live.
Should I mention the chairs? Carefully pick this up. You see the stop? Yep. Stop. The light goes out. So this one, this guy. This is what. Yeah. Now this one here. This is square here.